Hello and welcome to another update video about Bitcoin. We see a first initial break above micro resistance, which is a positive sign for the bulls. That indicates that a low of sorts might already be in place. However, it's too early to say that because this move to the downside can easily morph and transform into a diagonal pattern. So let's talk about the options. Only want to focus on the 1 hour chart. In the last video, I talked about the daily time frame and also the longer time frames like the weekly chart. So if you're interested in getting a little bit more context, please take a look at the last video. In this video, because I shared everything in the last video, just would like to focus on the microstructure, because here we've got an interesting development. The price is now breaking above the initial micro resistance, which, as I said in the last video, could be a first early indication that a low of sorts is in place. However, first of all, the move to the upside looks a little choppy, and it's really only the first indication that a low is in, okay? The earliest indication. Why? Because to complete more directly to the downside in an impulse, we would like to see the price hold below 40,290, but it broke above it. So let me take the impulsive wave count out. So that's a good sign, first initial sign that the bulls are waking up. And that at least there are some buyers available, okay? So, however, is that enough to really fully confirm that all of wave 4 is already over? No, it's too early to confirm that. It's too early, we cannot confirm it yet. It's literally only a first initial break of micro resistance. So the 50% Fibonacci level broke. That always tells us, okay, this third wave down is not impulsive. I mean, could it be that this third is already in? See, maybe, but then it's really only a 3-wave move. And if it's a 3-wave move, even then, if I measure the fibs, it hasn't really reached a minimum expectation. If I measure it from here, it has. So the only, one way of looking at it would be to transform it into a diagonal pattern. Then we have 3 waves down in wave 1, A, B, C. We have a wave 2 as a flat. We have a wave 3, then it would be acceptable. This would be a wave 4, and there could be one more low in wave 5. It wouldn't really change much. It would simply mean the move down is not an impulse, and the wave 5 would be an A, B, C structure. That's a count that we, I think, still need to consider. But with that break above initial micro resistance, certainly there's now a chance that a low is in. But this is still something that can easily play out, okay? Easily. So quite comfortably, the price could still form an ABC structure to the downside. That would, in my opinion, get less likely if we see a break above the golden ratio, the 61.8 retracement. Where is it? Because, a second, because a wave 4, even in a diagonal, should normally not break above that level. But there isn't really an invalidation point until the price breaks above the wave 2 high, which would be too high anyway for a wave 4. I normally use the golden ratio. So at the same time, you see this descending trend line. And a break above the trend line, I think, would then suggest, okay, it's also not a diagonal. This wave 4 would just get too high. Basically, that's the next level to watch, 40,720 and the descending trend line. Okay, if we break above that level, I think that would open the door to a larger recovery. And then we could say, okay, possibly all of wave 4 is already in, or it's just a larger A, B, C structure in wave 4. That's also still possible. So to keep it very simple, I've said like, okay, it's not an impulse anymore, but it can be a diagonal. So let's see if it can break above the descending trend line. If it does, then the next resistance area will be relevant between 43,468 and 46,564. Certainly the price has done enough to the downside to already allow for the low to be in. In yesterday's video, I shared with you that it could easily be a WXY pattern. All these coins can complete their corrections in a WXY, but we cannot really trust a WXY as such. Therefore, it takes additional evidence, like a first move above resistance and a corrective pullback. As always, it will be the first corrective pullback that will tell us if we have already put a more substantial low in place. But as I said, it will, to keep it very simple, a break above the descending trend line, I think, would then already shift probabilities towards, okay, a larger recovery is underway. And then we've got this resistance area, which will be relevant. And I think only really if we overcome resistance here, but it will depend on the structure as well. So if we break above the descending trend line, we have to very carefully analyze the structure as we go to determine, okay, is it a corrective rally or are we already in the larger fifth wave to the upside? There's no reason to panic right now. We literally only have seen the first initial break of micro resistance. We essentially want the price to go up from here as long as it's turning around in support. That is great. And as I said, the main question is, are we holding 35K or not? That C wave down is a little bit short. So at the moment, I'm leaning towards, okay, we get another low. Therefore, I want to see how we react to the descending trend line. So as I said, it could just be a diagonal pattern. Just to share with you what else it could be. So easily, let's say we've bottomed here in a wave W, then this could be an X wave into resistance and a Y wave down. Yeah, so that's a possibility here. W, X, Y. Very, there's nothing unusual about it. It's just not, a WXY is not the most probable pattern. Therefore, it wouldn't be the first that we would, track. But I mentioned in the last video that, of course, a low can be in a wave W, or even a WXY could complete all of this already so that the entire wave 4 is complete. Essentially, we're now at a stage with the initial break of micro resistance, where we are tracking resistance for a diagonal and the descending trend line to see if in this initial move down, one more low is happening. I think at the moment the risk is definitely still there, for one more low, especially as long as we hold below the descending trend line. Maybe throughout the day it will become clear that a more substantial low is in place. Well, then, tactically speaking, the resistance area here will become relevant and could offer an opportunity for those who chose to add positions to layer in this support area, because it might, depending on the structure, okay, because this might just be a corrective rally, a larger corrective rally, as I just showed you in this X wave. Then this area would provide potentially the opportunity, tactically speaking, to realize some partial profits and move up the stop loss from this trading area. And then, okay, if the Y wave happens, then layering in again is an option, okay? If it goes up straight away, then perfect, okay? That's why I would say only partial profits that will at least, realize some gains in case we get that Y wave down or in case something more bearish is playing out. But I can tell you, an incomplete downside structure like this, if we form a low like that, it certainly would be more bullish than, forming a proper impulse to the downside. So it's good for the bulls. Let's see how high the bulls can drive the price today. That's my update about Bitcoin. Hope you liked the update. If you did, please hit the like button, leave a comment and subscribe. And if you really like the content, then please check out the channel membership. Also, make sure that you follow us on Instagram and Twitter for additional content. Thanks a lot for watching. Bye-bye.